Okay, wonderful. Sarah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity for the second year in a row. I love your digital retreat. It's the set of sessions is just so unique and so wonderful. And now I would like to say hi to everyone. I'm going to introduce myself just for a bit before I start the presentation. So I'm Jelena. Sarah pronounced my name right, which is not that usual. She always says it right. And I come from Serbia. I'm a teacher. I've always wanted to be a teacher. When I was a kid, I loved playing school, and I was always a teacher. So I studied English language and literature. I love education, and I also love attending all sorts of things like this and webinars and seminars and conferences. I also hold a Cambridge CELTA. And since recently, I'm also a teacher trainer, which is something new for me and very, very much fun and interesting. And I've been a teacher for 17 years. I have taught, students of all ages, basically from preschool kids to C2 level exam prep. And yeah, for the last 10 years or so, my focus has been on Cambridge English exams, C1 and C2 in particular. So that's something about me. And now I'm going to share my presentation. So this is it. The topic is become a super learner, how to become a super learner. And this is something that I'm talking about for the first time now. So this is something I've been reading about a lot recently and doing research into this. For some reason, now is the time that it seems very interesting to me. So how to become a super learner? Like, learning is something we take for granted. No, like usually no one at school, no teachers, at least here, no teachers try to teach us how to learn. They just say, okay, like study this, learn this for homework. But we are like, okay, we will try it, but like what do we do? And when you think about it, like what's there to learn? You just sit down, you open the book, you read the material, I don't know, you revise, you read again, you hope that you will remember this. But I wish it was that easy. For me, it was never that easy, because when I would try to conjure up some, I don't know, information later on, it would be too difficult or impossible. So here I want to, I think it is related to this, the concept of digital retreat. I was thinking about, is it really related? But I think it is, because it's important. It's important to learn how to learn. And today we are going to see what super learners do differently and how you can become one and learn effectively much faster and memorize things long term. So before I move on, I wonder how you see someone who's a super learner. So it would be great if you could just type in the chat, like what a super learner means to, not means to you, but like how you see one. So a super learner is someone who ... and you just fill in the rest. I would love to see what you think, but can I see the chat, I think? Yeah, I can. Just something, the first thing that comes to mind. Doesn't have to be anything special, just something obvious. Like, what a super learner, a person who can retain most of the things. Yes. Okay. Who knows how to optimize their time so they don't waste time on unnecessary tasks. Perfect. Who learns effortlessly. Yes. Okay. Who knows what works for them? They keep learning, create a learning routine. Yes. Someone who can use his or her brain more than the average people can. A super learner reads a page once and knows it by heart. Yes, I wish I could do that. A person with flexibility, yeah. Somebody willing to listen to ideas and notice language. Okay. Yeah, someone who is able to implement what they learn. Okay, this is super important. Okay, so now I'm going to share how I see a super learner. So that is someone who is curious. I think this is the number one thing. Who is playful, who sees learning as sort of a game, a play, challenge-driven, persistent, of course, and intrepid, brave to try new things. Because learning is doing something new, trying something new. Now, I have nine, let's say, steps or 9 important things about how to be a super learner. And the first one is your game plan. So you should devise or develop your game plan. There are 4 questions to ask yourself. Now, the first one is why. So start with why. Or there is the power why. There are a lot of those books with why, the titles with why. So the question here is, why are you studying what you're studying? In this case, English. Why are you studying English? So you are, I suppose, all you have reached a certain level of English. So let's say that you are all above intermediate level of English. So why are you studying English further? What drives you to learn more? So the stronger the reason you have, the better. And your motivation is very important. So it can be extrinsic, it can be intrinsic. So extrinsic motivation is like, okay, I need English for my job. I need it for some student exchange program. I need English because I want to take this test, or my boss wants me to speak to the clients. I don't know. Or intrinsic motivation is like, I just want to learn because I love it. I love how French sounds, let's say. So I want to study French. And anyway, English, we are talking about English here. It is a very useful skill, basically. So, and this leads to this why are we studying it, leads to the question what. So what do we want to focus on? Is it like this topic, of studying English, is the subject is very, very wide. And is it like, do you need business English? Do you need to practice your pronunciation? Do you want to go on a writing course or exam prep, or maybe some, I don't know, communicating better or in English, academic English, maybe something for specific purposes? So what is it that you really want to improve on? Let's be specific. How? So now we need to develop some sort of strategy. If you are learning on your own, then you need to find some books, find some courses, maybe if you want to do it on your own. Talk to people who have already done what you want to do. Join some groups, Facebook groups. Look for the right teacher, someone who inspires you. So the quality of material and the instruction can make a huge difference. So it's very important to pay attention to that step in the beginning, because it can save a lot of time. And finally, this when we're talking about time, when are you going to study? So spontaneity is not so good. Okay, I don't want to use some harsh word. So it's really not the best option. So we need to see how much free time we have, and then see when we want to have this goal achieved. It's important to have a specific time when we want to have this goal finished and achieved. And then you should grab your diary and create a schedule and see how many hours you would need approximately to reach this goal. And this really shows your seriousness about studying. and it helps you get ready mentally. Because if you're not ready to put it on the paper, to put it inside your planner, you're actually not ready to invest time and effort into studying. So you can adjust the plan as you go, of course, but you should put everything in your schedule. And it's very important that you space your learning, so it is much more efficient if you study for an hour or 20 minutes or 15 minutes a day than it is to cram everything into a 10-hour session. So it works much better for this long-term memory if you space out your learning. So so this is your game plan. And the point is reaching a goal. And this goal, actually, when we reach it, it gives us confidence to strive toward other goals, even more ambitious goals. Maybe some things you have never considered before, but something that came up in the meantime. And this confidence and this skill are the final goals of learning. Now, you can reach your goal through hard work, and that is the fact. And the best strategies and the best courses and the best teachers and material are useless and worthless unless you do the work. No one can do the work but you. Now, moving on to number 2, and I named this one focus. So, procrastination, how to beat it. There is one strategy you can try, because we all procrastinate. I don't know if there's a person who doesn't procrastinate. I take my hat off to you. So you should do this. So set your timer 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, and you say, I do this, for example, for when I want to exercise. Like, okay, I'm gonna do it for 5 minutes and that's it. So like, set your timer 5 minutes and promise yourself you'll do it for those 5 minutes, and then you feel free to stop. Okay, so maybe you don't feel like studying that day, but do it like that. So just 5 minutes. And there's something interesting. The moment you open the book or start working with a course and you start studying, you become the winner. So this is the moment you win, because it takes just a few minutes for that worry, because procrastination is connected to worrying, to lots of different psychological things and perfectionism, and so this worry starts to disappear. So it takes just a few minutes, and when you start, you're very likely to go on studying without wishing to stop after those 5 minutes. So that is something you can try. You can also try Pomodoro technique, which I like. You can check it out on YouTube, for example. There are lots of those people who study, and then you study with them. And the point is that you study for let's say 25 minutes, and then you take a 5-minute break and so on. And I think it's a good way to motivate ourselves. How to maintain focus? Well, you can try it with Pomodoro technique. And you should avoid multitasking. So this is not good for deep learning. Focus on one thing only and do just that. Do just one thing at a time. The learning environment is basically connected to, of course, to where you are at while you're studying, but also to distractions. So avoid all the distractions. I know it's hard, but try to avoid all social media, no checking emails, no scrolling, just focus for those 10 minutes or 15 or 30 minutes. Go all in for a short period of time. Should you listen to music? Does any noise I don't know, disturb you? Will you study in a cafe or not? It depends on you. It depends on your energy level, on what you're used to. I can't do anything like any studying or working on anything if there is any music, for example. I can't focus. So I need silence. Some people work with music and it works perfectly for them. Now, if your energy level is high, let's say, and if you go to a cafe where there is a lot of, things happening, this will raise your energy level even more, and that is not that good for learning. But if your energy level is low, let's say you feel sleepy a little bit, you can go to a cafe because it is going to raise your energy level, and then you might feel more ready to learn. Let's say, okay, it's just a theory. You can try it out and see what works best for you. I guess you already know what kind of environment works best for you. Okay, the next one is basically encapsulated in this little comic. So human resources. He's applying for a job, and the woman says, I see you did well in school, but what real world skills do you have? And he says, tests. I can take tests. I love it because this is really the reality. We need to build real skills. So super students study in a way that mirrors real life use, builds practical skills, and pushes them out of their comfort zones. If you want to learn how to communicate with people, but you're studying using an app with multiple choice answers, you won't be able to talk to people when it comes to that. So we avoid this directness in studying because it makes us nervous and anxious and uncomfortable, and it can feel frustrating. And then what do? We choose a book, we choose a course, an online course, like self-study course, we choose an app, and we hope for things to just work out in the end when it comes to talking to someone, but it usually doesn't. It doesn't turn out to be successful because our learning didn't mirror real life use. So studying needs to mirror real life use. You should learn new words because you want to use them, like tonight or tomorrow, in real life. And you should be careful not to rely on apps too much, especially those apps which do not, and they rarely mirror real life use. But okay, some apps do help, of course, but just be careful about that. So we basically learn most while doing things, doing the thing that you want to be good at. And if you want to learn a language, of course, we need to use it. If you want to take a test, you should practice with those practice tests. So you should do the exact same thing that is the end goal. Yeah, this process is much more uncomfortable than watching a TV series or a film or playing some games, with an app. But here's the next slide. Uncomfortable action leads to next level results. So it needs, I know this is digital retreat, but it needs to be a little bit uncomfortable so that it pushes us outside our comfort zones. So it must be at least a little bit, that there must be some difficulty. And this difficulty is a source of your competitive advantage. So if you organize your studying around something, in order to create something, you are definitely bound to learn more. It is going to be a little uncomfortable, but you will survive. And this leads us to these new next level results. So for example, what can you do? You can send emails at work. Maybe this is something you dread, but you can try it. So you be the person who sends emails in English at work. Instead of, I don't know, someone who does it for you. Or talk to foreign clients, answer the phone in English, or maybe you can attend some workshops where you will be forced to talk to people. Maybe you can give a talk in English, which is not your mother tongue, just like I'm doing now. So you can join a conversation club. Sarah has a book club. You can join that. So do something that's not comfortable for you. So something that will be a challenge. And if you want to make more progress, put yourself in the context where expectations are higher than and more challenging. Now this goal makes you push harder. So make your goal visible to others, like declare it. Say, I'm doing this, I'm going to do this by that time. If it's an exam, it's easy. Your goal is very visible. So that will really change the game and your approach, and it will move you toward a real, useful, effective work. Now, number 4 is, what is your, okay, so rate determining step. Chemical reactions, just for a second. So just think of a chemical reaction. They always occur in multiple steps. And each step has to take place. It takes place before the next step. So each step can take place until the one before it finishes. And some steps in this chemical reaction happen fast, some happen at a slower rate, but there are some steps in this chemical reaction which are the slowest. Just like here. So let's say there was a step before this one, and this is like the slowest step in a chemical reaction. And this is called a rate determining step. Rate is like the speed. So this is the step, the part, in our case, the part of our learning progress, which slows us down. So what slows you down in studying? That is in making progress. That is the question. Let's say, okay, let's take a look at an example. Your sentences depend on the words that you know and that you use. And if you know too few words, you won't be able to talk a lot. And what if you just leave the grammar aside and pronunciation and everything else? Just what if you added hundreds, let's say 500 new words to your mental dictionary in a short time? Like maybe that would drastically change and improve your speech, even if the grammar and the pronunciation stay the same. This will, like, for example, this vocabulary thing, it would drastically improve your speaking, your writing, your comprehension, reading, listening. So maybe this vocabulary is your rate determining step. Maybe pronunciation, maybe you know a lot of words, but people don't understand you. So you need to work on your pronunciation. Maybe it's grammar, I don't know. But it has an effect on your, this narrow bottleneck, how to call it. It's like, it has an effect on your overall ability. And if you improve that step, you will make much faster progress than if you try to work on each aspect of the skill simultaneously. So indicating this rate determining step and working on it alone is a great thing. So focusing on this thing for a while, for let's say a month, would maybe change everything. So yes, again, it is uncomfortable. It takes courage to choose the worst thing and to work on that. It's much more pleasant to focus on things we already know, we are already good at, and what's fun for us. But this mental hard work is more useful than what's actually from what feels the easiest for us. Okay, so number 5, remember and retain. And I have 5 things, 5 examples of how we can remember better and retain the information. Flashcards and apps they turned out to be very useful. So you can use traditional flashcards like in paper form, but there are these apps which are great for spaced repetition, for example, of vocabulary, but you can also learn grammar and whatever you want with them. So there is, for example, Brainscape is a great website for spaced repetition. I checked out Flashcard Lab. This is an extension with Google Sheets. It's very simple to use. There is Quizlet, of course, Anki, Memrise. So all these are great for learning vocabulary. Research shows they are really useful. Pre-recall it works like this. You learn something, you read something new, close the book, and try to remember as much as possible without opening the book. So just think, don't check anything in the book, just think about what you studied. And in this way, your brain actually has to reconstruct pathways, and the concept becomes more easily retrievable later. So that is something very interesting, which I had no idea before. Like, just think, think about what you studied and try to recall it. If, for example, this free recall works great with tests. So if you are getting ready for an exam, for a test, then do practice tests with free recall. That works really well. So testing is much more effective at improving retention than rereading the material. And rereading the notes is the least effective because your brain finds the information familiar. It thinks like, oh, okay, I know this. So you're rereading something you have already read. Oh, I know this. There's no need to put any effort into this. But actually, you don't know it. Maybe you just understand but you actually can't retrieve the information later on. Give yourself a grill. This is about questions. So as you are studying, instead of taking notes, write questions for yourself that you will answer later on when you finish studying. So this is similar to pre-recall, but you have these questions to guide you. So for example, you're studying the conditionals, advanced features, and so you write the question, okay, what are the 5 alternatives to if and how do they work? Or you're studying the passive and you think like, okay, you write down the question, what are the 2 types of the impersonal passive? Or what are the 5 leaking words for contrast? Or okay, so give yourself a grill after studying, ask yourself questions. Challenge yourself. So once you learn something new, challenge yourself to use that in your next essay. So Sarah will be talking about journaling. So challenge yourself, use that new word, that new idiom, that new structure while journaling, let's say. Picture it. Okay, this is about, again, this is a review technique, revision technique. So again, with free recall, you're not looking at your notes. Draw mind maps, draw concept maps, diagrams, charts. So try to visually represent what you have studied. Okay, so remember and retain. Now, guard your thoughts. While you're studying, guard your thoughts from distractions, from information overload, from negativity overload, and from the wrong kind of feedback. Now, the first 3, I think, are self-explanatory, but I would like to tell you something about this feedback. Okay, so feedback is the crucial ingredient for achieving high levels of performance. If there's no feedback, you will usually people either stagnate, so just use the skill without improving it, or there's even regression. So we forget things and we are getting worse. Information you get on what you're doing well and what you're doing not so well can really speed up learning. So this feedback is the information you get about your learning. Now, the type of feedback plays a critical role. Teachers, parents, our family, our friends, they like to give us feedback. They like to give us praise. And this is basically directed at your ego, not performance. Usually they say, oh, you're so smart. Oh, look at how wonderful you are and how wonderful you speak. You're perfect. But this can be really detrimental to your studying. Now, good feedback can feel, again, as I said before, can feel uncomfortable. This is that uncomfortable thing we talked about. It can sound harsh. It can feel discouraging. And then what you can do is you can decide to avoid it, to reject it, to lower your standards, to maybe to give up, which is the worst thing you can do. But when you avoid these punches, you also avoid a huge source of learning. And best feedback that you can get is informative and corrective. So, and in that way, it is useful for you. So the best feedback shows the gap between the current state, so where you're at now, and the desired state, where you want to be. And it's always about your skills, never about your personality. So this is good feedback. And you should understand that. So this is just about your skill, never take it personally. And this feedback will help you improve, help you take steps to improve learning. It also requires you to have someone to give you good feedback. And it's usually a teacher or a tutor, and they can point out your mistakes and correct them. And this corrective feedback is crucial. It saves a lot of time. Okay. That was feedback. Now, number 7, you should supercharge your brain. Okay. Rule number 1, do not quit too early. Now, I have to, okay, I think I will finish in 10 minutes, Sarah. I think it's okay. So when it seems you can't do something, that you can't find an answer, it's just important, and you want to quit, it's important not to quit. So try it for another 10 minutes. Set timer and stick with it for another 10 minutes, and then it might happen that it will click somehow, and you need to invest enough time into thinking, enough thinking time actually into something. So maybe those 10 minutes are just what you need to really understand something you think you will never understand. Then explain it. Rule number 2, explain it to a 12-year-old. How to really understand a concept. You should be able to explain it to a child. So this is, okay, maybe this is an exaggeration, but it really is something worth considering. If you can really put something in simple terms, and you can say it in an easy way and explain it in an easy way, it means that you understand it. There was this man, Richard Feynman. He won the Nobel Prize in physics. And if you watched Oppenheimer, the movie, he was one of the, so an actor played his character. So he was in the movie. Now, how he had there's this technique, it's called Feynman technique, and it says how to really understand something. So number 1, you're trying to understand a new concept. So the first thing you should do is write down everything you already know on the topic you want to understand deeper. So everything you already know. Then with a different color pen, write some new information, add some new things that you have learned about that, and write them next to this already known, already familiar information. And then look at that and make it simple as you can. So simplify your notes, avoid any jargon. Think about how you would explain this concept to a 12-year-old child. Read it out loud as if you were reading it to a child, and see if there is anything else you don't quite understand yet. And then again, add that, repeat until you have a very simple, clear explanation of something. Rule number 3 is start and finish with examples. So we should always start with a lot of examples. You want to learn a grammar structure, or maybe you want to learn some new word. You should look it up in a dictionary and look at all the examples how you use the word. Okay, the more examples you look at, the better you will understand how the word works. And also with grammar, same thing. So the more examples you see, the better you will understand. And then when you really understand how it works and how to use, let's say, a word, then write your own examples. So create your own examples. This leads to a deeper level of understanding, because it's not so much about the time you spend studying. It's about what you think about this information while you're studying, as you and creating something new. So it's about your thoughts. So in order to come up with your own examples, you need to invest some thinking. And that is actually, these examples are proof that you understand something, your own examples. The last one, rule number 4, is don't fool yourself. We tend to ignore our ignorance. We oversimplify things. We think, I know enough about this. We don't want to ask any questions, and doing this because we feel self-conscious. We don't want to seem uninformed. This I know enough about this can really have a high price. We need to ask a lot of questions, simple questions, any questions you have, if you want to get ahead. And the more you learn, the more questions pop up, and vice versa. The less you learn, the fewer questions pop up. So know what you don't know. Don't fool yourself into thinking you know something that you don't know, and go deeper into that. And look at this as an adventure, like a treasure hunt. Let's see what else is there that I don't understand and don't know. Number 8 is experiment. So now, when you have all these resources and methods, and when resources such as, like, let's say, books and articles and apps and websites and whatnot today, and we have all these different methods, like how can you learn, what can you do to learn? Like, you can listen to podcasts and watch films and listen to music and read literature or read newspapers. Teachers, you have so many teachers to choose from, and there are also these different learning styles. So your study style that you are used to is not fixed. You can try different things. So now is the time to experiment. So you can experiment with, you can copy something, let's say a piece of writing, or I don't know, a talk. You can copy it and then create something new. You can learn from the best writers. You can learn from the best speakers by copying them and then using that to create something of your own. You can also, you can compare different methods. For example, you want to learn vocabulary and you want to see how best to learn vocabulary. So for 1 week, you can read a book. The next week, you can watch movies or series, and the next week, you can use a flashcard app. And then you can compare. You can be like a little researcher, and you can compare how much you learn each week and what works best for you. So don't play it safe. Feel free to experiment. Experiment with all these things with teachers. Also, you can try different teachers. You don't have to stick with one. You can have different teachers at the same time. be adventurous, and break the mold, do something different. Now, the final thing is love. Okay, now what does this mean? Now, there are methods which are effective, but not so easy. And there are those methods which are not so effective, but they are easy and they're pleasant. And this can get you to choose the easier methods, of course. They're easy and pleasant, not so effective, but okay, it feels better. But, you know, joy comes from when you become good at something. And to become good at something, you need to know it well, you need to learn it well. And to learn something well, you need to study effectively. So this not so easy type of learning is actually safer because it leads you to mastery. It leads you to mastery. It leads you to enjoyment, and all of a sudden, learning becomes fun because you are good at it, and it becomes like play, like a game, and we start to love what we do, to the point that it almost becomes an obsession in my case. But this love, all these things, they come from within. So self-discipline, motivation, dedication, they can only come from within. No one can force you. You can't achieve great success by being forced to do it. So it can be harder, but it leads to your mastery, and then you will love it, and then you will want more. So that is my final message. Love is all you need, like the Beatles used to say. And sometimes it might take some blood, sweat, and tears to find love, but it's worth it. Definitely. Now, Sarah, I have finished. I hope it was useful, and I hope that you found something interesting and something you can use and apply in your studying.
Absolutely. There are many, many useful things in there. So I really encourage people to make use of the fact that they can re-watch this, to go back and listen, because you've got tons and tons of useful advice there for us. Thank you so much for fitting in so many different ideas and for lending us so much of your time as well. We really appreciate it. We aren't going to have time for questions or comments, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But if anyone does have any questions or comments, feel free to write them in the Facebook group, and then we will pass them on to Yelena, and
Yes, sure.
she'll get back to you that way. But we really want you to have a break in between these workshops. It's important to let your brain do something else for about 10 minutes. So
yes,
thank you so much, Yelena. That was brilliant. Absolutely, completely packed with ideas. So everybody, you've got about a 12-minute break now. And then when we come back, it's the last workshop, which is mine. And like Yelena said, we're going to be journaling. So you need to bring something to write with and something to write on. So make sure you have that with you, and we'll see you in 12 minutes. Thank you, Yelena. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.